Okay, cool.
Okay, so we lost Cole, but that's okay. I think he's driving, so maybe he's in a spot. Yoram's at the airport. This is very interesting working on this in cyberspace. So our intention right now is to do a recording. Daniel's going to run us through the spreadsheet that we've co-created, and there's copies for each of us. I'm going to let you explain that, Daniel. And what we'll do is we'll send out a copy to the recording and a copy to the link, and hopefully we can get some feedback ASAP so that we're not leaving this to the last minute and Daniel and myself or whoever else is scrambling to get the final figures sorted out. We'll have a good idea maybe by the end of this working session, though, if we can get some numbers down. Daniel, over to you. Thank you.
Yes, perfect. So Melanie and I have created a method to divide the previous proposals awarded by Project Catalyst. Once you go in, you can see, if you go to this tab that says Hubs and Events, Budget ADA, we're going to be only working on the Fund 7 Hubs and Events proposals for as of now. We want to make sure that the process is clear and it's kind of a test run for us to be able to move over to the Fund 8 proposals. So in this left side, you're going to find the original breakdown for the proposal, actually what's on idea scale and with amounts received that we've done in the transactions history. Here you can see all of the transactions, consult the address, and everything staking rewards for those specific proposals. So here's the breakdown of both proposals, the original ones. Once we were trying to figure out how to distribute the total ADA within the wallets, we decided to create pools of ADA based on certain activities from the proposals. And we decided on two core pools. So it's one pool for the core team and another for the treasury. Money that will be kept on the treasury will be used to give back to the community with different options that we're exploring right now. And we invite everyone to give us suggestions, maybe NFT collections or something we can figure out with that money. So the idea as of now is for us to get feedback from everyone involved in those proposals. On the right side, you're going to find these two parts of the document, and the idea is for you to be able to fill it up as you think we should divide the total ADA. So on the first part, we're going to explore two methods that Melanie proposed. One is splitting equally the total ADA between different actors or different people that worked on the proposal. And the second method is meant to divide the ADA in percentages for the work done. So how does it work? We're going to focus on this first part at the beginning. So let's say I did some work on these proposals. I can add myself into the list. If I want to add anyone else that I think deserves to be remunerated for the work on Fund 7, either these two proposals, I can add those as well. I'm going to add Spanish names. So we use this as an example at the moment. So what you can do now, this is the total ADA in the pool to be distributed between community members, admins, and everyone related to the proposal. You have to add the names on this row, then select which role they have in that proposal. We have a couple of options here. You can also add your own option here if you feel that something is needed.
Sorry, Daniel, that may confuse it because it won't do all the drop downs. And will it change all the drop downs?
I don't think it has to change all the drop downs. Let's say I add Melanie here and she was
Mother, just put, or butterfly, just put in butterfly for now.
I can add it here. I could
Just
do
this
just
instance.
this instance.
Beautiful. Thank you for that.
And I'll select that butterfly here. So then if you think that person has to be remunerated with ADA, with part of the pool that we are distributing right here, you have to check this box. Let's check all of the people that we added to the list. And this row here will split equally the total pool of ADA between the actors that you selected. That's the first method. Then the second method is if you think that someone deserves a specific percentage for that proposal, you're able to explore that option as well. You can choose a drop down and choose one of these percentages. Let's say Rodrigo is gonna get 50%, Juan is gonna get 10%. If we go over at any point in time, right here, this is gonna show that we, in red, that you've allocated more percentage of what's allowed, of 100%. And that way we can also know if we're over budget or you have to change percentages here. This row represents the ADA in the percentages that you selected, and right here you can see the totals of both options. I'm gonna delete this for the example. Now, this is the first part. If you see right here on the bottom part, we've added other pools that I think, Melanie, you could explain what these pools mean better than me.
Okay, so thank you. And you can actually delete my name or change the name Melanie to something else. If you don't mind, that'd be great. And that's a good point. That's the somebody who doesn't want the name on things. And Yoram, I think yourself, myself, a lot of the time we go in and we make a Google document under Cardano4Climate. It doesn't have our name on it. So that's considered the somebody pool. Somebody did something and you're part of that pool. You didn't do, accurate record keeping. Cole's another example of that. He just jumps in and he gets it done. That's the somebody pool. And when we go and we look at this as a whole, the community, people can come in and do this and allocate, the 100% just to people. But when we come back as a group, before we allocate, I know there is a somebody pool, and I will select this as a fair good portion of the final budget. And then Daniel, if you scroll down.
Yes. So we have these three pools to be added.
And so, sorry, I'll just explain it and then you can carry on. So the other contributor pool is who else has contributed to make this, whatever we're doing possible. For example, Swarm, we follow their format. They advertise for us in after town hall. Jacob Dickow was one of the original members that we copy some of his stuff, forward. I see a lot of the work that I did prior to this copied and pasted into proposals. So there's a whole bunch of people that are unnamed that belong to a contributor prior to this proposal. So those are the before people. The nobody people are the people that come along after the proposal, and they do the work that nobody wanted to do. So in the case of the impact onboarding, we didn't get that done during that time span. Cole and Daniel came along, did this amazing work. They jumped in. Now they're part of this nobody pool. So we can total out these budgets on time, recognizing that we have nobody's, somebody's, and everybody's in there. Everybody is also everybody. If you're part of that everybody, you did something. You're part of Cardano4Climate, and you can put your name down as the everybody. And maybe you don't want to get paid out in ADA or something else, but you want to be recognized as a contributor. I think that covers it, Daniel, I hope.
Yeah,
And, yeah.
it does.
And welcome to questions on that one too.
Yeah. So right here, if you think you know about contributors, or if you yourself are one or belong to any of the pools here, you have to select, okay, so we're gonna give some budget to this specific pool. We check the box. This is gonna split equally. Let me zoom out a little bit so we can see the rows. So this amount will be contributed to that pool specifically, and we can do the same with percentages, let's say 30%. So if we go back or we click on this is gonna throw us to the contributors pool just below. And here it follows the same logic, but with the budget of that specific tool. Also here, there are some descriptions that might make it easier when you go through it. And here you can do the same. So let's say, what contributors could we add as an example? Swarm.
Mm-hmm.
So
you could put Jacob
else?
with a K. You could do Jacob with a C. That's
so we are,
fine.
yeah. So we're now distributing the other contributors pool amount. We do the same. We can select here rows or add rows to each one of them. This will split the amount that was awarded to the pool, and we can do the same with percentages as well, with the same format.
So these are people that are not going to be speaking up for themselves. And these are the people that you're going to recognize as a human being that have contributed to this project. So there's no records of them, but you're going to know who these are and who you feel. If this was a proposal with one person doing all the work, then it's super simple. When we start, recognizing other people, that's where it gets complicated, and other people that don't come to speak up for themselves. So this is that opportunity to just dig a little bit deeper and recognize who else contributed to our work to make it possible for us to be here.
Yeah, exactly. And the idea is for, I mean, you can add as many people you think deserve to be in this pool, or add as little people you think. You can also use this document to just add yourself, and eventually we'll get the feedback and try to divide everything with the feedback of the community. So
this could also be sustainable ADA too, right? If you weren't part of the team, identified as part of the team, and you've come along and you've done marketing, you could be part of this pool. Or Daniel, you're going to take us into specifics because, but yeah.
Yeah, well, and actually that works the same for each one of the pools right here. This shouldn't be here. I'll take it out. Nobody pool, somebody pool. And also, finally, we've added a third section where we're taking the original breakdown of the proposal with the amounts awarded. And this is only if you think you did work for the proposal that is specific to one of those categories in the initial proposal. You should only add your name here. And in each one of the categories that you think you need remuneration, and select the options specific to the proposal. So let's say if I add myself to receive UBIs because that's on the original proposal and I worked on Pond 7, I can select if I think I deserve 3 months UBI, 2 months, or 1 month. And this would automatically calculate the rewards. And the same for the section below. This is only for people that think they specifically did the work or on one of the proposals and they want the remuneration of that specific proposal.
And so from your feedback, Sustainable ADA, you would be in the community events budget, I believe. I don't know if we had an actual PR budget for that. It seems to me that we didn't. It was just straight.
It's here, right?
Yeah. I don't, yes, see, because that was something that we hadn't factored in. It was just straight. We're getting X number of USD that turned into ADA per event and per meetup. So there was no split out for PR. We didn't have that. Thanks, Daniel, for cleaning that up. So, but that's you know, you could go in there and you can make comments in that one.
Yeah.
I know what I did on that, Daniel, that it's sliding over into the next column. I can fix that right away.
So that's basically how this first part of the document works. Now going into the second part, if you see this is an automatic table that is gonna take all of the names within the first part and the pools part, see how much it was awarded for each one of the names and sum it up right here. So this is like the final payments or the overview of the first part where we can see the proposals of how much ADA we should be giving to each one of the persons within the proposal. And yeah, I think that should be it. Right here, you can say, okay, I want to be paid. There's different options for form of payment. After that, you can add your wallet, and also there's a section for comments where you can leave feedback and comments as you wish. Hopefully that was clear enough. I wanted people to tell me if that's understood or are we missing something.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you for all the work done, all the effort put into that. Yeah, it's a long process, taking a lot of energy, so thank you for taking that. I think it's great. I think one thing we thought about, I mean, if you have categories of people, right, in the beginning, people choose the category they are. And we thought about in the past also that each category will have kind of a percentage associated with, right? Somehow. Like based on the, and instead of dividing it, the first model that you suggested, so instead of dividing it, let's say by 4 in this case, right, it's divided by also by the role someone took.
So as a team, we'll come back together and look at the results, and the final decision will be made by the group, a core team that will say, yes, this is taken in everybody's perspective, because we look at the whole community. Individuals come in and fill this out according to their perspective, and our group decision will be based on the whole community. And we might, you know, these numbers might be adjusted slightly because we have a different perspective. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, I mean, that's makes sense.
Also, Yoram, I think I can add right there. So I think that could be part of the proposal you make when you fill this up. So let's say these are the 4 working team members, you put the roles right here, and you ignore the split equally. That's not something you want. And right here you put, I want to divide all of the work in percentages. I think every
Yeah, but
working
what I
team
said,
member.
there is a difference, for example, from a working team member and I don't know, someone as a community member who just joined the meeting or whatever category they're there. Right? So, yeah. But it makes sense to then associate that with a percentage and then make sure the percentages make sense.
Yeah,
So
the
you can
thing
do the
is,
combination of the two. Yeah.
if not, we are kind of deciding how much we think each one of the roles should be assigned percentage wise. And what I think is when we get the feedback, we can start getting the idea of how much people assign in percentage to each one of these roles and make a decision based on that.
It's flexible, right?
Yeah,
Rather than saying,
Yeah.
yep, if
So,
you're a working team, you get 20%, period. It has some flexibility to it.
okay, perfect. And so I think it makes sense as you mentioned to fill it up. You know, you did a lot of work here. It looks great and very organized. So it makes sense to fill it up and see what comes out. I'm concerned that only concern in general is just the complexity of that, right? Because that's the only. On one side, dividing in a community, it's complicated anyway, right? But that's the only concern. But yeah, let's fill it up and see what comes up.
So it's complicated in the sense that we are complicated as a community and we have this role that nobody wanted to take and we've got somebody's also involved. Definitely complicated. What I see is this will hopefully make it simple enough that people can visualize what it looks like. The importance of that splitting everything equally column is if someone comes along and, we just, we divide this all up equally, there's an amount. If somebody comes along and says, I'm going to put down a 75%, and then all of a sudden that's a red flag because you're saying that, you've done way more work than somebody else, or somebody who's done a lot of work only puts 5%. It goes both ways. As a community, we would go and say, hey, hang on a second. Let's make this more balanced and make this more fair. It gets complicated for sure when you want to include every voice, every personality, every kind of role and not fit into a box. It definitely it's like the difference between planting sunflowers and a wild meadow. I would like to see Cardano4Climate as a wild meadow of flowers versus, a cookie cutter monoculture. And I think that's what we are. And I think we can honor that with this type of a system and work from the beginning of this start and make it more inclusive of the next proposals that are a bit more broken down into specifics. And then by the time we start writing funds and budgets for Fund 10, wow, this is going to be a lot easier. Plus, we've also given this to anybody else who starts in this kind of way. We've given them a tool now to be able to divvy up stuff when you don't have good records, when you have nobodies in the group that take on stuff. So.
Yeah, I'm not sure we're planting while the flower is more complicated.
I plan on planting
sometimes
wild.
it can be less complicated, right? And that's the goal, to make it less complicated.
Well, yeah, I'll differ on that one because I see everybody as a unique individual. So, yeah.
Yes, I agree.
Raz, you've got your hand up. Question?
Thanks, Melanie. Yeah, just wanted to say thank you, Daniel and Melanie, for presenting everything that you've worked on. It's a gargantuan task to have gone through all of the different sources and present something that, yeah, is clearly complex, but at the same time, I think I echo what you said there, Melanie, about this community and everyone being unique, and you know, the kind of categories you thought of, like with nobody and everybody, you know, it's true. And I think this is an inspiration to anyone that enters this space and decides that they want to do something. You know, it's these are the building blocks to kind of, yeah, make the future easier for others, and you know, be more systematic in C4C. And yeah, just in reference to the proposal you mentioned about the events, community events, I'm not sure if the text in the spreadsheets everything from the Catalyst proposal or not, but with reference to like PR, maybe it's the wording, but in the proposal it mentions about promoting events in the budget section. So I think that was perhaps where there's that relation to PR.
For sure.
Marketing.
And what I did in that case was I just copied and pasted some of the proposal. And this is where we need other eyes on this. I'm not doing that on purpose. You know, like I'm not trying to say, okay, this is all it is. We need other people to speak up and say, oh, hang on a second, there we are. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Sorry, two secs. I'm just gonna have to open the front door. I'll be back.
So this is the important thing, is that nobody's in control of this. Nobody's responsible for omissions or adding on too much. But yeah, definitely there. And I knew that was there.
Apologies, my wife and son just walked through the front door, so
Oh, that shouldn't be an apology. It's good they're home.
yeah, it's good. Definitely, it's good they're home. But I'm gonna keep the
so
mic
it's
on mute
definitely
for
there,
now.
Raz, and thank you for
Okay,
pointing that out. So that's the thing in our document. We have limited amount of information copied and pasted into our Excel sheet. The links are there to go back to the original proposals and just point out anything. We want to know what's missing.
So Russ, if I can add right there, so this is the perfect case, and I think we should showcase this to the community. So you've gone through the proposal that it's right here. You did PR for events and meetings for this specific proposal, and you see that right here in the initial proposal, this is the part of the 12 weekly meetings, the part of the budget that includes promoting and communicating. So here's the budget for that on the original proposal, and on the bottom part, you can come here and say, okay, Sustainable ADA did work relating to that specific budget within the proposal, and we think our contribution was of 20%. And right there, we get the feedback. Also, if you can add, maybe you can give us a little more explanation about that in a comment, or add it right here, that would be amazing, but that's the idea. I don't know if that works or makes sense.
Oh yeah, thank you, Melanie and Daniel, for the explanation. And yeah, I'm sure Colin and I can jump into the sheet. Where with regards to split, though, I think that's where the difficulty will be with regards to
you
that.
know what, and it's a challenge, but put what you feel in your heart on this one. And then, like I said, we're going to come back as a core team and look at the numbers, listen to the voices, and then make a final decision that will be roughly around. Daniel, if you scroll up now, scroll up to this. This is really cool. I didn't realize that you'd done that. See how Sustainable ADA shows up? Now, did that come from that bottom proposal yet?
No, that
Okay.
doesn't come from the, I could add that, but it's gonna mess with the
Yeah,
totals.
don't worry about that right now. We'll just have to do it manually. We will figure it
Yeah.
out so that that pops up automatically. And then we can see who has a claim on the proposal and then work through that. And as far as a comment, there's also, if you go over a little bit further to the right, there's a space for comments there if you want to record them. The, you know, selecting a comment for a cell, it's okay, but it sometimes it gets lost. So these ones will last a little bit longer. The other thing is that in this proposal, I think we have the feedback from the form is one of the sheets. Is that right? In the one that we're going to copy. It's one thing that we didn't cover.
This part?
Yeah, so there's the form that was filled out and that was the feedback on there. I also made a community members list just to jog our memory. That's the next one. It's very,
This
very
one, right?
incomplete. If there's names missing, put them on there because then we have a record. That came from Telegram. I started to do Discord and I couldn't do it. And then I think the next one, Fund 7, was that, okay, it's transactions. There is another sheet that we have that has the event links. It has document links if you need to jog your memory about that. We haven't added it to this proposal just to get rid of some of the clutter, but if you need that, it is available if you need it as a reference. Any other thoughts? Newman, you're thinking. You're deep in thought, I can tell.
No, just looking at the spreadsheet, it does take a bit to get you know, organized around.
So to be honest, the logic behind it was really complex. So also thinking about how to create documents to give out to the community to receive feedback on how to divide the the pools of ADA. It's a mess as it is, right? It's a complex thing, and we're trying to simplify the process as much as we can. And we think this is as simple as we can show it for the case that we're trying to solve right now.
My just my thought, and I wasn't able to fully attend earlier, so I'm sort of playing catch up. You know, it's just about like getting, and I think this is sort of the idea behind the something idea. It's getting something into the pipeline that we work with and that we iterate over it. So this is from last year about this time, like the work that was being done. And then, you know, if we can kind of, you know, as best as possible, you know, move towards some type of process, then, you know, next month, like the, you know, what people, you know, how we handle budget as it comes back in, and how we share that methodology as a standard. You know, we are an open, you know, community, and part of our charge, one of the proposals that we've accepted, is to work with these processes to try to find the problems that are out there in the Cardano DAO, treasury management, Web3 wallets, you know, and then come up with something and then share it. And then, you know, and it could be bad, it could be right, and then we figure we rotate it again, because new money will come back into C4C, and work will be done, and people will need to understand how, and you know, how the treasury is managed, how people are paid, how people are remunerated, how people are incentivized to do the work. And so my point is that it clarity is more, and I'm not saying this is not clear, this is wonderful, but clarity for new members coming on and they say, oh, if I do this, I can get remunerated in this way, is absolutely paramount, because it helps people to do the work, as opposed to sort of confusion. And then that might just make, well, I'd rather just go and work somewhere else with that, without the confusion.
I'm glad you're taking the lead on that, Newman, because that's going to be somebody. So that's somebody has to make this clear, and it's definitely a learning from this experience, and it will be helpful going forward. Somebody has to take that on, or nobody does it, and that's a nobody pool that gets done afterwards. There's a whole bunch of factors that go into the future, and we would not have that learning experience if we hadn't done this. And as I said in presentations, nobody is to blame for not doing it. It is what it is. And we take this moving forward for sure. There's a whole bunch of recommendations based on this wonderful experiment that we've had. The other concern I have is that the work done between funding rounds that it hasn't been paid for also has to be recorded. And this will be a template that we can scale up, because it's still these flexible, but see, then by Fund 10, we got an accountant, we got all this stuff perfectly figured out that can go forward. Up till that point, we don't have those perfect records. So we still have to remain flexible with somebody and nobody and everybody categories. So I think this might work. It'll work for all of it. We just scale it up, and then it'll become more specific. Even like what Daniel did at the bottom, breaking down the specifics, we're going to be able to do that.
Also, I think with this process and experiment, we've identified how our community works, and we come up with ideas that we can scale to other proposals or other types of funding. So how we do budgets might change with all of these that we've worked on, making sure that we specify that leads are going to take over the proposal. We make sure we agree upon that before getting the funding. And there might be some time within the proposal that are not taken by leads, but community members. And we can set aside like somebody pools in the proposals. So people know that there are some tasks up for grabs. They can come in, this is the total. And depending on time they worked on, it's gonna be divided between those community members, something like that. Like you said, Newman, and I completely agree. This is an iteration, and a first iteration, we'll get feedback and we'll try to get this as clean as possible and really create a system that works for further funding.
Yeah, and that is really the value. That's really the gold in this, like figuring out a method or a process. It may look complicated now, and that's just sort of a necessary part of going in reverse. Being in a whole year behind is tough. But I wouldn't worry about. It's sort of like the knot. You got to like pull everything out and all the threads and get it all out. It can coalesce and become, simplified. The complexity and the complicatedness of this does not scare me.
Newman, this is the simplified version. Believe you me, this is the knot not quite untangled, but it's the simplified version. And yeah.
Also, just to keep mind of we're coming to the end of the meeting. So next steps would be, we're going to be sharing a copy of this document that you can edit. I'm going to leave this right here as an example of how it works and how values come over to the right side as final payments. The idea is for you in the copy to be able to duplicate the sheet, put your name on it, and play around with the distribution that you think is fair for that Fund 7. And after we get that, we can look at all the data and all the feedback, and we can have a final distribution by Tuesday, right, Melanie?
Yeah, so, you know, feedback sooner than later. I think I'm going to be working through the weekend on this. You know, it may be that we have to leave a chunk of it unpaid, and, you know, have, okay, this seems fair, you know, Yoram wants to get this amount out. We can check him off the list. There may be other names that are not paid for yet. They may just have to stay in a pool, you know, or there for someone to claim down the road. I'm not 100% sure that we'll be able to clear this out entirely, but we're gonna work towards it, provided people give us the feedback on this sooner than later.
Yeah.
Yoram.
No, great. Again, great. Thank you for all the work and discussions and that get it done. And, you know, yeah. And for me, it's also, you know, how we bring and, you know, how we able to bring more resources, right? Eventually. So, but that's a kind of a second discussion, but we're able to connect that together. I think it's also important, right? And then we're able to create a sustainable community, because this is part of the objective for 223. So not only looking in the past, and you're doing all this work, also to look as part of the future. And I think that's great and important for that. It makes sense. Yeah, thank you really for all the work around that.
You're welcome. So the other thing is, if nobody does this, the work doesn't get done. So it's on everybody here to put their name on this and do something, work with something. And yeah, we cannot work with nobody's work.
Yeah, I've just done the copy. I'm gonna send the link to the chat.
Can you share it also on the groups,
Yeah,
group
we're going to
working
share,
group?
we'll share the video plus the link in the groups. Should be okay to share it in the main Telegram chat, Yoram, would it?
Yeah, I think so. I think
And
we need to be open for
Discord,
that.
how do we want to do it in Discord? Do we want to make it as an announcement? It feels like it shouldn't go too far wide, though. In our channel, we could do it in our events and meetings or in one, but I don't think in the announcement category. So Discord and Telegram, I'll be the somebody that puts them in and gets that done. And who's recording? Raz, you're recording. Do you have access to the C4C YouTube channel?
I'm not sure. I might have to look through the records there for that one. Shall I stop the recording now?
Yes.
Bye.